안녕하세요. Welcome to Thursday's edition of The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon-Soa in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment, K-trends, K-people, and today I want to highlight K-liquor. And all of this together with our co-host Bella Kim. Hello, Bella. Welcome to the Culture Wave. I forgot to do my usual wave at the beginning.
I missed you, Soa. It's been a while, right? Because I was here on last Friday.
Right, because you're going to be with us now Thursdays and
Fridays. So I missed you. And of course, our viewers of the Culture Wave. I'm your co-host Bella, back again to fill you guys in with the latest in K-entertainment. And I'm also very, very super excited about our Hallyu people today because we're going to be talking about something that we haven't talked about too much on our show, as you hinted, K-liquor.
Right. We're going to have a chat about Korean alcoholic beverages. So it'll be very interesting, especially for our adult viewers. Right. But there's also something for our adult and children viewers coming up. Special exhibitions and shows for young and old.
And especially for kids, there's still a little bit of winter break left for them. So it would be great for them to, enjoy.
Exactly. So if you are a parent or if you're visiting Korea with your whole family, check out this following report. For families with children that are now on winter vacation, there are some exhibitions and performances based on fairy tales and storybooks. Both parents and children can make memories while staying out of the cold and enjoying some culture. Jin has the story.
Families take photos in front of a wall with a big picture from a children's book that parents read to their children. The children even get to interact with the main characters that have jumped out of the picture book. While visiting this fairy tale exhibition, parents are also able to take the time that they didn't have in their busy schedules to read to the children and connect with them.
It's difficult for children to participate in or enjoy exhibitions for adults, but I was happy to hear they had an exhibition for children. They could have a lot of fun.
I really enjoyed coming with my family.
This exhibition set out to actualize the imagination of stepping into a picture book. The pictures are hung at lower heights, closer to eye level for the children.
There was a book I had read, so it was even more fun reading it again here.
There was a book I had read at school, so it was more fun. I want to come back again with other friends.
There are immersive exhibitions that use animation and supersized media art walls where visitors can experience picture books from domestic authors like Chesuki as well as foreign artists. A picture book written by the famous author Pekina, well known for her picture books Magic Candies and Cloud Bread, is brought to the stage in a musical performance. The Bath Fairy tells the story of the main character Tokji and a fairy grandmother meeting in an old bathhouse. The magical world that the performance displays is enchanting for the children and nostalgic for adults. Since its opening in July of 2021, the musical has attracted more than 200,000 patrons, and it even won the Children's Family Musical Award at the Korea Musical Awards in 2024. Jin, Arirang News.
Time for some K-entertainment news with Bella Kim. Bella, we're going to start off with Netflix series Squid Game Season 2 because we cannot stop talking about it.
I know.
Because we have so many new records almost on a weekly basis. What do we have now?
Well, we have another record made by Squid Game Season 2. Squid Game Season 2 continues to captivate global audiences and is setting new milestones. It has held the #1 position on Netflix Global Top 10 non-English TV chart for 3 consecutive weeks since its release on December 26th. And the latest season is also the 3rd most watched series of all time on Netflix after Squid Game Season 1, which is holding #1, and Wednesday. It also recorded the highest number of views for follow-up series on Netflix as well. In the new season, the main character Ki-hoon returns to Squid Game with a resolute mission to end this deadly game for once and all. And the season 2 actually concludes with a cliffhanger, if people who have watched it already, setting the stage for the complete story of Squid Game to reach its climax in the third season, which is scheduled to be released later this year.
Right. So let's see if the second season can actually reach as high as the first one.
Yes.
And we're now going to move on to K-pop and talk about a boy group.
That's right. So boy group ATEEZ will enter K-Expo Dome in Seoul for the 2025 ATEEZ World Tour Towards the Light, Will to Power finale in Seoul on March 22nd and 23rd. The title of this world tour, Towards the Light, Will to Power, means that we all have our own light and we should, let's move towards it. ATEEZ already performed across North America last year for their tour of the same name, and they will start their tour Towards the Light, Will to Power in Europe this weekend actually, where they will perform in 9 countries including the UK, France, and Germany.
Nice. And lastly, we just talked about a drama, a K-pop group, and now we're going to move over to a theatrical play.
Yes, we have diverse sectors today for K-entertainment. Korean comedy play 꽃의 정원, or in English, The Secret of Flowers, is returning next month for its 10-year anniversary after its premiere back in 2015. A press conference for it was held at the Artist House in the 대학로 종로구, Seoul last Wednesday. And the director of the play, Jang Jin, and actors Park Sun-ok, Lee Yeon-hee, An So-wi, Kong Sung-yeon attended the conference. The play, The Secret of Flowers, is set in Villa Perosa. It's a small town in northwestern Italy and tells the story of patriarchal husbands who are into soccer and neglected to do some houseworks. But these husbands disappear in an accident overnight. But it turns out that they fooled everyone for a specific purpose, which you'll have to find out in the play. The play is the work that brings out empathy and emotion while providing constant laughter through the commotion of ordinary daily life. The Secret of Flowers, this play will be performed in Link Art Center in Seoul from February 8th to May 11th.
I wonder what that specific purpose is that you mentioned. Well, Bella, thank you very much for those diverse stories today.
My pleasure.
And now, time to go over to other culture-related news with our AI anchor, Ari.
Welcome to the Culture Wave AI News. Here's our first story of the day. Traditional Korean sijo poems were launched into space aboard a lunar lander on Wednesday, marking a significant milestone as the first Korean literary art to be sent to the moon. The poems are expected to reach the lunar surface in about 45 days. The poetry collection, titled Polaris Trilogy, features 11 sijo poems primarily themed around the sun, moon, and stars. Sijo poetry flourished during the Joseon dynasty, celebrated for its concise structure, lyrical elegance, and philosophical depth. The launch is part of the Lunar Codex, a global time capsule project aimed at preserving humanity's creative achievements by sending them into space. The Kansong Art Museum Daegu, which opened its doors in September last year, has launched its first permanent exhibition today. The exhibition features over 50 items from the collection of Kansong Jeonyoung-pil, one of Korea's most significant figures in the field of art and cultural preservation. Highlights include 6 national treasures and works by renowned Joseon-era painters Kim Hong-do and Shin Yun-bo, alongside ceramics and calligraphy pieces representing various historical periods. The exhibition runs through May. In celebration of the Lunar New Year, over 20 temples nationwide will offer Seollal Temple Day programs from January 22nd to 30th. The events will feature a range of immersive activities, including folk games, meditation sessions, and traditional Buddhist sebe, or formal New Year greetings. Program details for each temple are available on the official Temple Day website, www.templestate.com. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more cultural updates and insightful discussions ahead.
from makgeolli and fruit wines to distilled liquor like soju, Korea has a wide range of traditional alcoholic beverages. Today, we talk to someone who fell in love with these drinks and promotes them to foreigners in Korea and abroad. We are now joined online by Korean traditional alcohol specialist Julia Meller, originally from Australia and currently connecting to us from the Netherlands. She is the founder of the Sul company. Julia, hello.
Hi, Julia.
Good morning or good afternoon for you guys. It's very nice
to be here
today.
To you. Well, Julia, it is still mid-January, so Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
And at the year end and beginning of the new year, people really like to gather and have some drinks. And we also here in Korea, of course, have the Lunar New Year holiday coming up. I can imagine it's a busy season for you and your business right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a busy time for the alcohol industry, that's for sure, especially with Lunar New Year, because it's one of the busiest times, that and Chuseok, every year. Mostly because during the ceremonial rites, the chesa, we use cheongju or yakju, traditional clarified rice wine. So the breweries get extremely busy around this time, and also gifting is a big thing. But for us as a business, actually, it's a little bit slower because tourism takes a little bit of a slower beat in the winter time. So it's a chance for us to slow down, regroup, review the last year and see what our goals are for next year.
That sounds great. And currently, right now, you do promote and educate people about Korean alcohol. But you used to be an English instructor, I heard. Please tell us about how you became to introduce these Korean alcohols and your journey here in Korea as well.
Yeah, every time I talk about the journey, I feel a little bit older because it was a long time ago. And it's a pretty common story. A lot of the time, people's first experience with Korea professionally is in teaching English. It's a great way to come to Korea and experience a new life and new culture. So after graduating university, I moved to Korea to teach. And fell in love with Korea. I loved living in Seoul. I loved the food and the culture. But it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 years into being in Korea that I really discovered the depth of Korean alcohol. And it was a chance opportunity to have a blind tasting of different kinds of makgeolli and also a little bit of soju. And I was fascinated because I actually didn't really know that there was so much range at the time. This was, probably 15, 13 years ago now. So I had Googled it in English to try and find some English information because nobody really had anything to say. And I realized there wasn't much information there either. And I just thought, you know what, this is kind of a missed opportunity. I wish there was more information about how rich the stories are, but also how much range there is when it comes to Korean alcohol. So one thing led to another. I probably didn't think it through so much at the time, but I learned Korean, studied Korean alcohol, fermentation techniques, and started as a community to communicate that in English to other expats living in Korea at the time, and then sort of converted it into a business. So it's been about a 14-year development, but it's definitely just been absorbing the information by being in the industry for so long.
Very interesting. And Julia, now you are actually contributing to, foreigners learning more about Korean traditional alcohol beverages. Also, when you do search makgeolli, for instance, into the search engine, because when I did that, I did find out information about you and your project as well. Now, countries around the world do have their own traditional types of liquors, but what's really unique about Korean sul, which is, of course, the word for for alcoholic beverages here in Korea. So what makes sul so special, and why did you start to specialize in this field?
It's a couple of things. I mean, I am Australian, so I love wine and, always had an interest in the alcohol industry in general. But it wasn't until, and so I loved it from tasting. So as I said, that experience, but it wasn't until I started brewing it myself to actually making it at home that I really understood the complexities of the fermentation process can actually produce a range of different drinks. When you're making wine, that's your goal. You're starting from grapes and you're trying to make wine. But when you're making different kinds of sul, it's from those three ingredients, right? Rice, water, and nuruk, the Korean fermentation starter. And when you brew it at home, and after you filter it, the first alcohol you get is called wonju, which is quite strong and like makgeolli, but stronger in ABV, which is delicious. But if you wait and let that separate in the fridge, it goes into two different layers, and that golden clear alcohol comes to the top, which is cheongju or yakju, which you can then drink. And then if you add water to that and dilute it, you can call that makgeolli, which is a totally different drink. And then if you take that away and distill it, you can make soju, which again is another different drink. So it was fascinating to me that you could make all these different categories of drink from the same fermentation process, which is so unique to other alcohols in the world. And that's part of how we communicate sul, is that home brewing is also a wonderful way to discover it. And you can really, really get to know the nuances of the category.
Speaking of the process, we see in the background that you set up. Can you explain a little bit about that fermentation process? I guess in Korean it looks like a 장독대 behind you, or where you store ingredients that are needed for instance, makgeolli. Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So this is actually a brewery in Korea, and it's actually a brewery and museum that you can go and visit. And it's one of the best places to really drink in and breathe in the culture and the history and tradition of Korean alcohol. And that was the original method of fermentation. Of course, we know so many fermentation processes use hangari and ongi and things like that, and sul was no different. So these are the original ways, and the clay pot vessels have great oxygen transfer. They're really great at creating a good quality fermentation. These days in commercial brewing, you don't use them quite as often because they can, they're very heavy and they're hard to sterilize and all those sorts of things. But it's important to retain that tradition and to understand that there are links to old styles of fermentation, even though we're moving into a modern age.
Very interesting.
Wow. Very interesting.
We, like us, just people who like to drink Korean alcohol, really don't know before we hear from a specialist.
Exactly. I mean, drinking.
I hear that a lot.
I know
Right.
it is, because drinking can be, daily life in Korea, but we don't know those details, how the brewing works, how the process works. So it's very interesting to hear that as well.
Right.
And Julia, you did tell us about, the journey to, understanding these Korean traditional alcohols. But let's go back, and can you tell us your first experience with Korean alcohol? Like, do you remember the first time you encountered that Korean alcohol?
I can, and it's probably not the greatest experience if I'm brutally honest, because, and this is actually one of a passion of mine. Sometimes our first experience with sul, with makgeolli, even with soju, as an international person coming to Korea, it can be more about function than it is about flavor and complexity and whatnot. And I do remember drinking it and thinking, oh, this is interesting, but my hangover was pretty tough the next day. But it wasn't, I wanted to communicate to everybody that that's not the be all end all of all sul. There's so much different styles that you can try, and maybe there's something out there that is different and that has a different taste and profile for you. So I just thought, actually, my first experience with makgeolli was fascinating, because when you look at it, it's not like any alcohol that it's white and it's milky and it's very unusual. But then the flavor is not what you expect if you have no reference point to it. A little bit of sourness, a little bit of sweetness. It's very light and fresh. So I think it was mostly just, wow, this is so interesting. How did I not know about it? And that was sort of the raindrop for the waterfall of, okay, let's learn more about it.
So you did talk about your first experience. I know it was, a little bit, tough with the hangover, but you enjoyed makgeolli, you had, somek, everything. What would you say is your kind of favorite alcohol that you would recommend to people?
I think I probably get this question every single interview I ever do, and it's the same answer. It's like choosing your children, like, oh, which one do you like better, and things like this. They're all great. And for me, alcohol, especially people who are interested in alcohol for the range of flavor and interest and craft and things like that, there's just different times where you enjoy different drinks. Like some of the cheongjus and yakjus in Korea, they're beautifully crafted and they're amazing, but they're quite sweet. So they go really nicely as a dessert wine that's a nice sip that you want to just have a little bit of it. Whereas there are some makolis that are light, fresh, fizzy, slightly sour that are something that you crave on a hot day, and is just something that at that specific time you want to drink it. But also, let's not forget soju. I mean, soju has such an incredible breadth and depth of styles. It's not just the green bottle that we're familiar with in dramas and things like that. There's spirit strength, which is much stronger. There's a lot of complexity of how it's made. So I think there's so much to it, and I love all of it. Let's be honest.
Right. I just want to quickly add to that. I mean, people might have not known that soju actually is also part of Korean traditional alcoholic beverages, because in the past you had more percentage of rice inside soju than we have nowadays, right?
For sure, yes. It's really hard to choose.
Yeah.
Choose from Korean alcohols. They're all good. But talking about the 술 company that you do own, I'm sure you educate a lot of people, about these Korean alcohols. Is there any kind of memorable experience that you've had with, foreigners visiting to to get educated about Korean alcohols?
It's, and it's true. I've been doing this for quite a long time. And I have taught so many people from very different backgrounds. Some people come to us that have zero knowledge, no background. They just think it's an interesting experience. And some come to us from professional alcohol backgrounds and whatnot. To me, there's not as many memorable experiences in that every single experience is still different and rewarding. My favorite thing about the job, I mean, owning a business, there's a lot of things that you have to do and not all of them are fun. But for me, when I'm in front of customers and clients that want to learn more, it's that reaction of, wow, this is so interesting. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, I didn't know this. And that's what keeps it fresh. I mean, I teach the same classes over and over and over again, the same content every single time. But for me, it's never boring. It's always different because every customer's response, I learn something. Everyone brings their own cultural background too. Sometimes they've got memories of their own traditional alcohols, or it's similar to something they've tried before. So it's just a never-ending new journey for me. Otherwise, it would get pretty repetitive if it was sort of the same experience.
You really want to make me join that class one day, Julia. But please tell us about one of your visions, which is to introduce Korean alcoholic beverages overseas, so not only to foreigners in Korea. And that's also the reason why you are in the Netherlands right now, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, tourism in Korea has changed a lot. Seoul especially is one of the top destinations in Asia to come and see. But not everybody can come to Korea and have this experience. And one thing we do know about makgeolli specifically is that it's unpasteurized at its best. So it's impossible to export. You cannot export high quality craft traditional makgeolli because it just doesn't ship. So the only future of education and also just building the industry and awareness overseas is if you go there and do it specifically in that place. So for me, I realized, we can build the team in Korea and have those experiences for tourists coming, but I can do better work if I actually go overseas and bring my skills and my experience over to Europe specifically. So our goals this year is to create market education and awareness of quality Korean traditional alcohol, specifically in Europe, but of course we do global things all the time in the US, and obviously I'm Australian. And we do that through imports. We're importing high quality craft soju and creating experiences. So classes, all the things that we do in Korea, I'm just bringing it to a wider audience here in Europe.
So you just mentioned your goal for this year, but now as a Korean traditional alcohol specialist, what would be your future goal or ultimate goal if you do have one?
Well, I mean, my goals are sort of 20, 30 years long because it's a long game. I mean, we're dealing with an alcohol that still is very, very unknown. It's a very niche world. So my personal goal, if I can have any kind of role in the globalization and global awareness, almost to the level that maybe sake has sort of achieved in terms of Japanese alcohol, people are at least aware of what the category is. That's my goal. Through all the things that we do, I would love to play a really an important role in globalizing the awareness of Korean alcohol and making it a household name. Kimchi, bibimbap, sul. That's my end goal.
Kimchi, bibimbap, and sul. And on that note, thank you very much, Julia, for sharing your story with us today. And we wish you the best in further promoting Korean traditional liquor to more people around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies. Have a good day.
And thank you, Bella. As always, maybe we should have sul later in the day, the evening. But we will see you back tomorrow.
Yes, I'll see you back tomorrow.
And thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave, and hope you join us again on Friday at 2 p.m. Korea time, and maybe one day here in Korea.